Welcome to Cody's Custom Car Company. This is something that's been a long time in the making. I am a big car enthusiast, and this is something I've been dreaming about for a really, really long time. Ever since I got my first car, I was 14 years old. It was a 1970 Chevy C10 pickup. And ever since then, I have not been able to stop thinking about cars. It's what I do in my free time. I'm on YouTube watching YouTube videos about cars. I'm reading news articles about cars. I am addicted to cars. And now I want to share my wealth of knowledge with you, and I want to start building cars. Now, I haven't really been in a position in my life to be able to do that until now. And now I am lucky enough to have the time and resources to be able to put towards this. And so my wife and I, we transformed our entire garage in order to help me be able to do this now. And I'm so excited to bring you along with me from the beginning. Now, I've had project cars in the past. I had a 1994 Jeep Wrangler that I was trying to turn into the Jurassic Park Jeep. I saved up a bunch of the really hard to find parts from the 90s, but that didn't end up panning out. I sold the Jeep, I sold the parts years later. I've had things that I've worked on, but nothing to the extent of what I'm gonna be doing here. So I hope you enjoy, and let's give you a tour.
Now, before the tour, let's talk about how we got here. All right, so in order to start this project, I needed to first move everything out of the garage. We had a bunch of totes in there, all of our holiday stuff, all of the normal stuff you keep in the garage. I wanted out so that I could now have my shop be my shop. So in order to do this, I started by building a shed. Started out by buying the shed. It was an 8 by 10 foot shed off of Amazon, just a cheap metal shed that was going to do the job. So in order to start building the shed, I had to go out and clear leaves out. Now, I live in Washington State where it rains a lot, so I did a lot of this project in the rain, a lot of building the shed. So to start, I went to Lowe's and got pressure treated 2 by 6 by 12 foot boards, cut them down to 10 foot and the 12 foot. I also got all of my cross beams, all those cut down to the right length. You can see I do a lot of measuring. I was really trying to make sure that this was square and level throughout the entire process. It really needed to be that way. Otherwise, the shed would not be square. That's what a lot of reviews on Amazon said, is that if your platform is not square, the door will not close. And I ran into that problem. The door doesn't close quite right. It does close with a little bit of effort, but it isn't perfect. And that's kind of a bit of the theme of this channel, is going to be that it's a learning experience. Everything that I'm doing is going to be new. It's going to be something that I've never done before. Now, that's not to say I haven't had project cars in the past. I have had a couple, but nothing to the extent of what I'm going to be doing on this channel. I plan to restore and modify and build cars to be my artistic version of what I want them to be. So this is going to be a much more in-depth process than what I've ever done before. So you can see in the video that I have put in the cross beams. I have kind of marked out where I want it to go. My problem here is that I could not really move the platform at this point. I made the mistake of making it far too heavy before knocking it in place where I wanted it. And then you can see, thought about what I was going to do for a little bit while I went and added in all of my bracketry to hold it together and secure it a little bit more. Now you can see me doing a ton of measuring across both sides here over and over again, and that's because, again, I really wanted this to end up square and level. So I ended up measuring more times than I probably needed to, but after any adjustment, I measured again and adjusted anything to make it square. while I was doing that, I came up with the idea of grabbing my jack and jack stands in order to lift it up to dig out the corners to make sure that I was placing those in the right spot. I wanted to dig out the corners with gravel and sand in order to build a more sturdy and secure platform rather than just laying it right on the grass. Now, in hindsight, I really should have dug out the corners before adding in the cross beams there, but this worked fine. I did get my brand new jack and jack stands extremely dirty, muddy from the rain, but that all washed off this time. So from here you can see I dug out all of the corners just about 6 inches deep. You can also see that I decided to add a middle support just to add a little bit more support so that there was no bending of that platform when it was done. I then went in and added some crushed rock. After adding rock into each of the holes that I dug, I had an extra bag, and so I went and filled in any spots that looked a little low. After that, I went and grabbed the sand. Sand is to kind of fill in the gaps in that crushed rock. So with that, it should be a lot level. From there, I went and added my pavers to each of the holes that I dug. This makes it so that it spreads out that weight very evenly on top of the sand and rock. I then adjusted back and forth, making sure again that it was square and level. You don't see it here, but off camera I did take a level and made sure that there was that it was pretty level, both front to back and side to side. I then took my flooring and started adding that in, just screwing it in on top. I chose this flooring because it was cheaper than pressure treated, but looking back now, I probably should have gone with the pressure treated stuff. It was about $40 a piece, a sheet more expensive. Now at this point, it was starting to get dark out, and so I was a little bit in a rush. I really wanted to get this done in one day, and so I was a little frantic at this point, but I got the last piece of flooring cut into 3 sections and attached them to the platform there, and was able to get it finished up. I then covered it with tarp, which you should see me pulling off to start in the next day. Here we are. It's definitely not the next day. We're probably at least a week later here, and we are actually going to be putting together the shed. Again, this is a cheap shed off of Amazon, so we don't expect it to be perfect, and it definitely didn't turn out perfect, but it will keep things dry and secure. All of our holiday stuff, all of our outdoor stuff, basically anything we don't want to store in the garage or in the house is going to be going in here, so we want to make sure that it is the best that it can be. Now, you'll notice that the platform is a little bit larger than the shed itself, and while the shed said that it was 8 by 10 or 10 by 12, it is actually a little bit smaller than that, which turns out to be a little bit nice because it definitely won't have any overhang over the wood on the bottom. But it does lead to an issue later where it's going to be raining, and now this flooring that is not pressure treated is going to be getting wet, and that's something that I'm just going to have to deal with later. We plan to paint it, the flooring and the sides of the platform, but we can't do that until it's dry, and here in Washington that could mean waiting until May. So we're going to wait until the spring, summertime to fix that problem. There's a couple other problems that we're going to be waiting until it's dry out to be able to do. Luckily, I do have someone helping me today. My wife was able to spend the entire day helping me put this shed together. Without her, I wouldn't be able to do this at all. It's definitely at least a 2-person job, and it would have been a lot easier with even more hands. So first, we started by putting all 4 corners together on the bottom and then attaching the walls as we went. Basically, we just followed the instructions for uh, the most part, and it turned out okay. From here, it was a little time consuming and monotonous as it was just put the panel up, screw it together over and over again until we got all the way around. Once we got the 3 sides done, we started working on the front, which has a door and 2 windows, so it was a bit different, at least a little more interesting. Now, I think here is where we made probably our first big mistake. And with this, we were putting the door frame on, and I think we probably could have separated it a little bit more in order to make more room for the door. We were just following the instructions, and it turned out to be a bit tight. And I think that is likely due to the level of the platform, but also could be due to the frame of the door. But we were able to close it. It's just not the easiest thing. From here, you can see we're adding in supports on the top of the walls, and that's going to make it a lot more structurally sound, a lot more stable. But it was also pretty monotonous. Move the step stool over half a foot, screw in a few more screws, do it again over and over all the way around. Next, we moved on to putting in these thicker wall supports that were provided. This is where the roof will actually mount to and adds a lot more structure horizontally to this building as well. Now you can see us inside here measuring and kind of adjusting, and that's because the platform I don't think was 100% level, or maybe was bending a little bit, and that led to there being a pretty significant gap in the door frame and the floor once we put that top beam in. And I think that really we should have reevaluated at that point and tried to fix that gap here. But it had already been kind of a long day, and we were both pretty tired, ready to move on, so we just continued on. This probably is where our door closing issue comes from, but it's fine. Next, we've moved on to putting together the arches of the roof, and this was actually a lot more challenging than we expected, and that's because these are the only parts that showed up really damaged. There was dents and bends that we had to try and work around and try and get it to sit right. We also kind of had to balance it up there a little bit until I got it screwed in, which turned out okay. I don't think this is really a problem, but it was a little annoying pulling them out of the box and realizing that there were bent and busted pieces in the brand new box. Next, we went inside and started adding the main support beams that support the roof, and this was a bit of a challenge, and I think this is where we made our next big mistake. One of these beams I think we put up backwards, which meant that all of the holes that the roof was supposed to screw into were about a half an inch off only in one of these beams, so it was a bit of a challenge and kind of made the roof a little skewed. It did get dark out, and so we ended up putting tarps over it, and coming out the next morning, to finish up the shed. From here, it was very similar to the walls. It was just move the ladder over, screw in the panel, move the ladder over and over again until the roof was done. Next, we added the gutters, and this was a kind of a challenge, and that was mainly because all of the panels were slightly off at the base, so things didn't line up exactly like they were supposed to. And again, I think that stems back to where we put those roof support beams in. Yeah, I think it's going to be okay. The trim and gutters actually cover that up a little bit and hide it, so it turned out okay. Finally, it was time to put the door together and get it attached. This was a bit of a struggle. Like I've said before, it doesn't quite line up like it's supposed to, but it does close. We later found out that because this cheap shed from Amazon provided us with plastic washers instead of rubber washers, that the entire thing leaks. So like I said, it's not perfect, and I'm gonna have to wait until the springtime to solve that problem. I'm gonna go up and put some Flex Seal or some RTF or something like that on the roof in order to prevent it from leaking. But for now, we have a tarp over top of it and in front of it. I then went in and built and added a storage rack for all of our totes. After moving everything into the shed, this is what we have left. And it needs a total makeover, and all of this stuff that's in the garage now needs to be put away and organized and really gone through. All of the walls need to be painted, and we're going to do a complete makeover on this. So we started by taking the pegboard down and cleaning everything. We then decided to sweep and dust and really clean the entire garage, and then started painting. Now, we still needed to park our cars in the garage, and I wanted a place to hang out in the garage as well, so I had an idea to build a fold-out bench. And once I started thinking about it more, what could be better for that than a tailgate? So I bought this tailgate off Facebook Marketplace, and when I did that, I didn't realize that it didn't come with any of the hardware. So I ordered the hardware online and started putting it together. Once I put the tailgate together to where it functioned, I then started building the platform or I guess the structure for this bench. I didn't really have 100% of a plan going into this. I wasn't winging it. I had an idea of what I wanted to do, but I probably should have sussed that idea out a bit more before just starting building. But here we are. So I started by putting kind of an H together out of wood and attaching the hinges to that. Here's where I made a pretty big mistake, was I made these bottom beams about a ½ an inch too long, which meant that every time I tried to adjust the tailgate, one side fell out. You'll see me kind of floundering, flipping it back and forth. I actually dented the tailgate at one point to where it no longer fit in the hinge. And so I had to go and get some pliers in order to see, here it is. I'm flipping it back and forth. It just isn't wanting to work. I struggle through it. I get it worked out. I go and get some pliers, fix the side that's bent. And I kind of stopped at that point because I was struggling and needed to rethink what I was doing. So I went and grabbed my jack stands and used those to support the tailgate as I built. I then put the supports in that let the tailgate fall and sit flat. I also added in the latch up at the top. Now, I still think this is a good idea. I just wish that I would have thought it through a bit more at the beginning, because I ended up the next day taking this thing completely apart and starting over because everything, including the cross beams, were about a ½ an inch too long. And I didn't film that because I just wanted to get done. So This is pretty much the same thing I did, I just cut a ½ inch off all of the different parts. After that, we decided to start painting again, and that involved a lot of black paint on the ceiling and gray paint on the walls, a lot of cleaning. And you can see we also moved a lot of stuff around the garage, organized a lot of stuff onto the shelves, and kind of got stuff out of the way for us to be able to paint. We moved a lot of stuff around the garage multiple times in order to get things out of the way for us to be able to paint. Now, this black paint really made the room really dark, which made me a little skeptical of it, but it does turn out okay once we get the lights in. After that, we took a sheet of 1/4-inch plywood and ripped it into 4-inch pieces in order to cover this beam on the inside of the garage. This was because it was a lot cheaper than covering it with real wood. We also made a drywall repair on there. The drywall around the bottom of that beam was pretty tore up, and I fixed that. I then put up the pegboard. I'm not a big fan of pegboards generally, but I think for my detailing stuff, it could still be useful. So I'm going to try it out and see how I like it. We had to move our electrical in order to stain behind that, stained all of that plywood, and then we came over and started painting the bench surround. Off camera, I also put that 1/4-inch plywood all the way around the bench. Next, I went and took down one of those storage shelves after moving everything off of it. That's because I need a little bit more space to walk around the car on that side of the garage, because that's the side I plan on working on cars for the most part. So got over there, took that shelf down, and started cleaning up a bit and painting. I then painted the shelf to match the bench on the other side of the garage. I really like the black look of this. I think it makes it blend in a bit more. Finally, we ended up putting up some of these hex lights, these hexagon lights, which really transformed the garage and changed the look of the entire thing. These, I think, are the thing that made the biggest difference in how the garage looked. Finally, I decided it was time to start organizing. After putting all of the stuff on the shelves, I did that off camera as well. I wanted to put all my detailing stuff away and make it nice and organized. So here I am using the pegboard, and it turned out pretty good. We'll see how I like the pegboard later on. But for now, holding this stuff, this detailing stuff, it turned out pretty good. I like how it's organized. I haven't had to use it yet, so we'll see how that goes.
Now, this has already been a huge learning experience for me. Filming myself while doing all of this is something that's totally new to me. Same with working on the cars. I'm diving into something that I've never done before. So the editing, I'm trying out different things. You'll see in this video, I've tried a few different things, talking to the camera, time lapse, talking over it, things like that. This is all stuff that I'm learning, stuff that I'm gonna be working on as I go. So if you have any ideas on how I could make this better, let me know in the comments. Now, I know it's not perfect. I'm going to continue to work on my garage, on the shop, and continue building it and making it better. I have some more work to do on the bench, for example. I'm going to upholster it and make it a nice kind of like a couch cushion to be able to hang out on and watch TV down here while we're working on stuff. I also have project cars in line, ready to go, and stay tuned because next episode you're going to see my first project, my first big deep dive that I'm going to be working on. Thank you, and thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Bye.